This is Y News with Angelo Castro III and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. The execution of overseas Filipino worker Jennifer Dalquez, who is in death row in the United Arab Emirates, is now terminated. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
The Al-Ain Court of Appeals in the United Arab Emirates has absolved Filipino worker Jennifer Dalquez in June 19, 2017 of a murder case filed against her. The Department of Foreign Affairs said the murder case was filed to Dalquez for killing her employer, Mr. Alaryari, on December 7, 2014. Dalquez claimed she was forced to commit the crime in self-defense where Alaryari attempted to rape her. Migrante International said Jennifer went to UAE in 2012 to work, but later on, she left her first employer due to sexual harassment. During that time, she planned to go back home, but she was offered to work as a cashier and an on-call household helper.
Hanggang mauwi nga doon sa sitwasyon na naagaw ni Jennifer yung kutsilyo mula doon sa amo niya at nasaksak niya sa likod yung amo niya, na yun yung naging cause ng kanyang pagkamatay.
Also, the court freed Jennifer from paying the blood money. However, she was sentenced to serve 5 years in prison for stealing a mobile phone. According to Migrante International, Jennifer should have been acquitted earlier in the court of first instance if only all the evidence were presented. Nonetheless, the group is thankful to the FA for their action.
Na ibig sabihin, yung additional pieces of evidence na yun, pwede na sanang na-submit nung court of first instance pa lang eh. Pero yun nga, na huling ipasa.
Jennifer has been in jail for more than 2 years now, and that period of time will be deducted to her current sentence. Her parents were able to visit her in October 2012 and March 2017 through the help of DFA. Migrante reports that around 69 Filipinos in countries like Malaysia, China, Saudi Arabia are now in death row, charged for cases in connection with illegal drugs and murder. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Families and friends of the Filipino-American sailor who died in a collision in the Sea of Japan are now in grief. Leslie Longboen explains why.
A U.S. naval ship collided with a Philippine-flagged cargo ship last Saturday in the coast of Japan. One of the fatalities in the incident was Filipino-American identified as Fire Controlman 2nd Class Carlos Victor Ganzon Sibayan. The Filipino-American was born in Pasig City but was raised in Chula Vista, California. Carlos' mother says she's living the death of her son up to God. She considers her son a hero.
He is in every sense of the word. He's my hero. We just borrowed this time from God, so now he has to go back.
The 23-year-old Sibayan served in the U.S. Navy for 4 years and was stationed at a U.S. base in Japan. Aside from Sibayan, 6 other U.S. sailors died in the incident. They were identified as Dakota Kyle Rigsby, Alexander Douglas, Ngoc Trong-hun, Noe Hernandez, Xavier Alec Martin, and Gary Leo Rem Jr. The remains of the victims were found at the berthing compartments of the guided missile destroyer that was flooded after colliding several times with the merchant cargo ship. The Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs initially said that the 20 Filipinos on board the merchant ship ACX Crystal were safe. The US and Japan are still investigating the incident. The Japan Coast Guard says it is looking into why the Filipinos on board the merchant ship took almost an hour before reporting the incident and what did they do during the said period. Leslie Longboen, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The National Capital Region Police Office is making sure that other members of the Maute Group will not have the chance to rescue their co-members detained in Taguig City. Grace Casin tells us why.
The National Capital Region Police Office is not discounting the possibility that the rest of the Maute Group members will look for a chance to rescue their members in detention, especially the parents of the Maute brothers Omar Kayam and Abdullah. NCRPO Chief Police Director Oscar Albayalde assures that their men from Special Action Force or SAF, as well as members of the Special Weapons and Tactics or SWAT, are positioned in and out of Camp Bagong Diwa in Taguig.
Yung possible of rescue, no, tinignan na rin natin yan. In fact, we have already conducted yung ating simulation exercise, yung camp defense plan natin, no. At yung nagdagdag na rin tayo ng mga forces doon sa nagbabantay.
Part of the Mauti members, other high-risk inmates are also detained inside the facility, including members of ABOCF Group, MNLF, and MILF rebels.
Sa kampo, no, stricto tayo, talagang pinapabukas yung mga sasakyan, yung mga gamit, yung mga bags ng mga pumapasok sa kampo.
This is in accordance of the directive coming from the Chief PNP Director General Ronald Bato de la Rosa. The transfer to Manila of other arrested Mauti members during the Marawi encounter has also been set soon.
I think we can secure naman itong mga tao na to at we can fully secure naman yung kampo just in case na talagang meron talagang mag-attempt ng rescue, no.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
National Capital Region Police Office Chief Police Director Oscar Albayalde has confirmed on the program Get It Straight with Anya Razon that the PNP memo that went viral on social media came from them. The memo states the alleged bomb plot of multi-terrorist group in malls and public places in Metro Manila. However, General Albayalde emphasized that information on the document is not yet confirmed, so the public should not panic.
So totoo itong memo na to?
Well, dun sa kanila, yes. That started from a text. This information that we get, no, are meant for validation. Hindi po confirm yung yung information na yon. Kaya binabayan sa mga lower units for them to validate.
Albayalde adds that release of the memo is a regular process of PNP every time they receive information intended for validation.
Matagal na kasing ginagawa ito even before eh. Ngayon lang kasi yung mga netizens natin, yung mga public natin,
yes,
talagang masyado ng maano sa ngayon mga information na yan.
Nakakakuha ng ano.
Oh yes, yung mga ganyan. At it's because of the threat of terrorism kasi.
Yes.
Meanwhile, PNP assures that their force is still on full alert status in the whole country, so the document should not cause panic to the public. He has also encouraged the public not to spread confidential documents but report such to the police for action. Despite this, Rodel Castillo, president of Mall Security Management Association of the Philippines, says mall security managers have been preparing in case of any untoward incident.
Nakikita natin na yung mga guard natin is unang-una yung mga armed guards na. Yun sa mga highly critical, nag-i-employ na rin sila ng bomb sniffing dog. Sa ngayon, we are ready. Pero but then again, lagi namang merong iba yung naghahanda ka plano kumpara doon sa actual pag nangyari na, di ba?
Meanwhile, Northern Police District Director Chief Superintendent Robert Fajardo has already relieved the PNP official who drafted the unverified memo on Maute attack. Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
College students from Marawi crisis-affected colleges and universities will now have the chance to continue their education despite the ongoing siege. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
Though classes in universities and colleges in Marawi and Iligan City will open in August 2017, the Commission on Higher Education advises all other institutions to accept transferees from crisis-affected areas.
CHED will be issuing in the next couple of days an advisory to all universities to immediately accept students coming from Marawi-affected areas if they want to transfer.
CHED said transferring college students need not to complete the necessary documentary requirements. This directive is effective to both public and private universities and colleges.
If you're from Marawi, your records may not be there. Just to accept them and then let the documents follow.
For now, CHED is also studying whether it is necessary to provide financial assistance for Marawi college students. Meanwhile, the financial assistance worth 5,000 pesos is already available for public and private university students in Yolanda-affected areas. The 540 million pesos appropriation is residual money from Yolanda funds not utilized in 2016. The students need to apply for the financial assistance at their university to avail of the assistance.
We're sending notices to all the public and private universities in Yolanda-affected areas that the money will be available to them. So this will be disbursed by the universities to students as financial assistance starting this month, as soon as the necessary paperwork is done with the state universities and colleges.
CHED also announces that the 8.3 billion pesos worth of allocation for free education in 113 state universities and colleges nationwide is already being implemented. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
A senator is pushing for the passage of a bill which seeks to provide scholarship grants to medical students across the country. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
Senator Sonny Angara has expressed concern over what he says the lack of doctors or healthcare professionals in the country. This prompted him to push for the proposal that seeks the creation of a medical scholarship program for those who wish to study medicine. The program, Angara says, would pave way for more doctors wanting to serve in remote areas in the country. The senator also notes that with the program, doctors would be discouraged to seek job opportunities abroad and to choose working for public hospitals in the country. The Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, initially announced that there are 8 state colleges and universities providing free tuition for medical students. The government has allotted 317 million peso subsidy for the 8 SUCs this year, but with a scholarship grant as the condition that beneficiaries will serve in government health facilities after graduating.
The students and the parents have to sign a surety agreement. You don't comply with the terms, you return the tuition assistance of government plus interest.
CHED says it will coordinate with the Department of Health and local government units for the implementation and process of the tuition assistance.
We have to work with local governments as far as provincial hospitals and district hospitals are concerned, with the Department of Health for government hospitals, and the local governments and the Department of Health for the Doctor to the Barrios program.
Based on figures from the DOH, there are more than 2,000 medicine graduates every year, but only 200 of them choose to work in local government hospitals. The DOH is in need of 500 public health specialists and 5,000 hospital doctors yearly. Health Secretary Pauline Ginobial says aside from the program of CHED, the DOH has its own scholarship program it offers to indigent students. The Health Department's medical scholars are now 1,200, and it targets to grant scholarships to almost 2,000 medical students. Obial is in favor of the proposal of Senator Angara to implement a scholarship program for medical students, so it could receive separate funding in the event it will be passed into law. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Next on Y News. 5 men were arrested in Cagayan de Oro port for acting suspiciously and presenting fake IDs.
And the Laguna Lake Development Authority dismantles over 1,600 hectares of fish cages in Laguna de Bay.
Y News will be right back. The Philippines and the U.S. Naval Forces have started a 1-week joint maritime training activity in the province of Cebu. Mon Locson tells us why.
The Philippine and U.S. Naval Forces begin the maritime training activity called Sama-Sama. It aims to expand their knowledge and further improve the alliance of the two countries. The military activity is focusing on security concerns like piracy and sea smuggling, as well as maritime domain awareness, and patrol humanitarian assistance and disaster relief preparedness.
We'll do a visit board search and seizure practice. We'll also do an air defense exercise and some operation of ships together out at sea.
One of the U.S. assets to be used for the maritime exercise is the littoral combat ship USS Coronado, while the Philippine Navy will use BRP Gregorio del Pilar and BRP Agta. An estimated of 200 personnel from the two navies will participate in the activity. The U.S. Navy says the maritime exercise is an opportunity to further strengthen the ties between the Philippines and the United States.
Establishing a more complex and interoperable skill set together as far as communicating and being able to understand the way we both behave as navies out at sea. It's a great opportunity for us to build upon the exercises that we've done with the Philippine Navy in the past.
The maritime training activity will run until June 25. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue.
The Philippine Coast Guard in northern Mindanao has arrested 5 men in Cagayan de Oro seaport. Joanano tells us why.
Coast District Commander Colonel Leo Vigildo Panopio explained that PCG personnel on Monday noticed the suspicious behavior of 5 men while heading onto the X-ray machine at Macabalan Pier. The 5 men introduced themselves as missionaries of Islam bound for Manila.
Yung karapatan nila na sa pagsagot nila na sila yun, pero karapatan din namin at karapatan ng bayan malaman nyo kung talagang totoo yung kanilang pagkakakilanlan.
The men also presented identification cards which they later on admitted as fake. Though the 5 men were not on the list of those with arrest order issued by Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, Panopio says they are not discounting the men's possible links to the Maute terrorist group.
Hindi namin pinapasawalang bahala ang dudang yan, lalo na sa sitwasyon ngayon. At lahat pwedeng maging itong supporter ng kalaban ng ating bansa.
The men were arrested and their cell phones were seized. They are now detained at PCG Northern Mindanao headquarters while the investigation is taking place. They are facing charges for falsification of documents. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Ilocos Norte Representative Imelda Marcos has a House committee to release 6 employees of the local government of Ilocos who were currently detained after they were cited in contempt. Joyce Balancho explains why.
For the first time, Ilocos Norte Representative Imelda Marcos faced the investigation of the House Committee on the alleged use of 66 million tobacco excise tax shares of the province of Ilocos Norte for the illegal procurement of buses and other vehicles in 2012 under the term of her daughter, Governor Imee Marcos. Marcos did not speak during the inquiry, but Committee Chair Johnny Pimentel read her letter to House Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez. The lady lawmaker asks the committee to release the so-called Ilocos 6, the employees of Ilocos Norte allegedly involved in the anomalous purchase of multi-cabs, 4 buses, and 70 motor vehicles. They are Josephine Calahate, Encarnacion Gaor, Jenedine Hambaro from the Office of the Provincial Treasurer, Budget Officer Evangeline Tabulog, Pedro Agkawili from the Provincial Planning and Development Office, and Eden Batulayan, the Accountant 4 of the Ilocos Province. Marcos explains the 6 employees have been detained for 22 days now after they were cited in contempt on May 29 for refusing to answer the questions of lawmakers. She claims many of them are seniors, are in weak health.
The sudden and prolonged interruption of their daily family routine has caused much anxiety to them and to their family members. I respectfully and graciously petition this honorable committee to release temporarily on my own recognizance the 6 detained provincial government employees.
Because of Marcos' request, the Ilocos 6 were summoned again and given a chance to answer the lawmakers' questions during the hearing.
We are very much depressed. Hindi pa kami nakauwi sa aming pamilya, sir. Kung pwede lang, give us time to verify this AOM kasi ngayon lang namin nakita ito. Hindi na-serve sa amin ito noon. And we are not in a position right now to answer questions kasi very much depressed na kami. Worried na po kami.
The Ilocos LGU employees were presented anew vouchers, checks, and several documents showing their alleged involvement on the purchase of motor vehicles after the Commission on Audit proved the papers' legitimacy. But they refused again to answer questions and invoked their right to self-incrimination.
Hindi mo maalala kung nakatanggap ka ng pera na ganyang kalaki. 15,300,000 pesos for purchase of 5 buses.
Still, Your Honor, I need my counsel with me.
This committee will be able to lift your contempt kung mag-cooperate. Like we said, ma'am, kung ano-anong ginagawa nyo, but we just want the truth. You took an oath.
Since the Ilocos 6 still refuse to cooperate fully with the probe, the committee refuses to free them. Lawmakers insist that the lower house of Congress has the authority to cite in contempt any witness who lies under oath and refuses to tell the truth in a legislative inquiry. Lawmakers also said that the Court of Appeals has no authority to release the Ilocos 6 as contempt power of Congress is not covered by judicial review. The committee has set the next hearing on July 25 and they issued subpoena to Governor Marawi Marcos to compel her to attend, as well as a show cause order to 3 Court of Appeals justices. Meanwhile, the Ilocos 6 will be detained until the House Committee is able to extract adequate answers to their queries. Joyce Balancho, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
Malacanang has no information yet regarding the submission of ad interim appointments of bypass cabinet secretaries of the Duterte administration. Among them were Health Secretary Pauline Jean Ubial, Social Welfare Secretary Judy Tagiwalo, and Agrarian Reform Secretary Rafael Mariano. Congress will reconvene on July 24.
As of today, the Laguna Lake Development Authority, or LLDA, has dismantled only less than half of the fish pens in the Laguna Lake. Monokson explains why.
The Laguna Lake Development Authority dismantles more than 1,600 hectares of fish pen in the Laguna de Bay, out of the more than 4,000 hectares of fish pen needed to be dismantled. The LLDA says they prioritize the dismantling of large fish cages owned by huge corporations.
Marami pa hong tatanggalin dahil nung mga nakarang araw, mga nakarang taon, ang aquaculture, ang mga fish pen, umabot ng 14,000 hectares. Pero ang kailangan lang hong malabi para maging sustainable, dapat ang maiwan lamang na struktura 9,200 hektarya.
Meanwhile, the LLDA assures that it will not issue permits to corporations seeking to reestablish fish pens in the lake. The agency says it will prioritize instead the issuance of permits to small fishermen.
Pag ho nagbigay ng panibagong permit ang inyong LLDA pagdating ng 2018, ang permit na ibibigay para makapagtayo ng fish pen, hindi na prioridad yung mga korporasyon.
LLDA's dismantling of fish pens in the Laguna Lake is ongoing. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Department of Trade and Industry launches Project Execution Team, or EP. Victor Cosaret tells us why.
The Department of Trade and Industry likens Project ET or Execution Team to Oplan Tokhang on its campaign against abusive businessman called No to Dugas Lord. Operation ET targets business entrepreneurs who cheat on issuing receipts, on product labeling, on product weight and quality. The DTI adds that Project ET will initially focus on the provinces which are always at the risk of receiving uncertified and substandard products.
Nagkakaroon po ng diversion lalo sa mga regions na mayroong silang port, no, Region 7, Region 4, Region 1, Region 10 and 11. Ito po yung kung saan napupunta yung mga produkto na sinasabi nating uncertified at saka substandard. Marami kami nakita sa Mindanao na nandoon yung quite prevalent violation on construction materials. So, lalo-lalo na habang tayo ay nag-iisip kung paano ihanda ang rehabilitation ng Marawi.
Project ET also targets manufacturers of products that have no therapeutic claim labels but declare specific diseases that they can cure in their advertisements.
So, it's saying it does not promise. So, what does that mean? Are you just free to distribute it to the public?
The execution team will also investigate on the alleged proliferation of fake rice in the market as what have been posted in social media. The government will allot 18 million pesos to fund the said project for personal salary and equipment that will be used in its operations. The DTI admits, however, that although the protection of end users is their top priority, consumer cooperation is still an utmost necessity for the success of all the projects they launch.
Lahat itong mga proyekto na ito ay magiging baliwala kung yung ating mga consumers ay hindi particular sa kanilang mga rights and privileges.
Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Department of Transportation explains that the PUV modernization program also have to undergo a long process that is expected to be completed by year 2020. Joanne Nano tells us why.
The Department of Transportation or DOTR says the implementation of the Public Utility Vehicle Modernization Program is not a sudden process. This is why the DOTR assures small operators and drivers of public utility vehicles or PUVs have nothing to worry about. The agency says 3 years would be enough for drivers and operators to replace their old units with new models of jeepney, bus, and van. Based on the data of the Transportation Department, passenger jeepneys has the highest number of units plying roads compared to other PUVs. There are about 180,000 jeepney units in the country. That's why the DOTR says improving jeepney units remain its priority. To help in the process, the government with the Land Bank of the Philippines offers a financing program. DOTR is now coordinating with the private sector for the lending program. The LTFRB allots an initial of 1 billion pesos for the more than 600 operators and drivers who wish to borrow money for the purchase of new jeepney units. The LTFRB says, starting the third quarter of this year, each public utility driver or operator can loan from 1.4 million pesos to 1.6 million pesos so they could buy new units.
Yung equity that they would allow is between as low as 5 to 6%. Ganun kababa ho. Drastically, ganun kababa. Now we're looking at 5% as interest rate for affected PUJ operators. Yung repayment scheme, pwede nating palawakan pa, no? Between 5 to 7 years. Having said that, alam natin na yung prangkisa is only good for 5 years. Kaya we are reviewing the policy on the life of the franchise in relation to the life of their loan obligation kung sakasakaling uutang sila.
Under the program, a new jeepney model would have global navigation satellite system, CCTV, speed limiter, and Euro 4 engine to prevent it from causing pollution. The Department of Trade and Industry has been tasked to create the design for the new jeepney models.
Protection naman ng mga legit operator kasi medyo nag-higpit sila ron sa registration. In-emphasize nila sa registration na dapat from the date of manufacture talaga.
Ito isang magandang indikasyon na nabuksan na ang pag-apply ng practice. At the same time, ang mga ilalagay natin dito, itong mga modern jeepneys na, hindi na yung mga luma.
The process of PUV modernization is expected to be completed by year 2020, in which all old units of PUVs will be phased out. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Coming up, Australian boxer Jeff Horn is now on the final stage of preparations before his bout with Manny Pacquiao.
And visitors will enjoy the wonders of nature as a huge aquarium of Red Sea and Mediterranean creatures is due to open in Jerusalem.
More from Y News after this break.
The advocacy film Isang Araw, Ikatlong Yugto has touched the hearts of Filipinos and foreign viewers in Canada. Fatima Tumang explains why.
Kuya Daniel Razon's advocacy film Isang Araw, Ikatlong Yugto has taught life lessons to viewers in Vancouver, Canada during a special screening in Massey Theatre. Not only Filipino viewers enjoy the film but also foreign friends.
I only watch like mostly classical movies, but this one was more special to me because there's a lesson in it. Almost every life event was in this movie included. Almost every piece of forgiveness, loving, giving, and etc.
I've learned a lot. They have changed my life a lot to live with godliness because I was deceived before. And watching Kuya, it's opened my mind, I opened my brain. I walk with this, I sleep with those words of God. I wake up with them. And with God's help, I hope and I pray to God up to the end. I want to live with it.
Our compatriots meanwhile expressed delight as the theme of the film relates to the reality of their experiences here in the United States and Canada.
Yung sa anak sa magulang, yung magulang sa anak. Tapos yung pamumuhay sa mundo na dapat mamuhay tayong malinis. Nakikita natin very consistent ito all throughout doon sa movie na in-advocate ni Kuya.
Napulot ko sa napanood ko, talagang marami kang aral na matututunan. Yung maging mababang loob ka, matulungin ka sa kapwa mo, at higit sa lahat, manampalataya ka sa Panginoong Diyos.
As part of its Canada tour, the advocacy film will be shown next week in Toronto. Fatima Tumang, UNTV News and Rescue, Vancouver, Canada.
Former school teacher Jeff Horn says he is now ready to face Manny Pacquiao in July. James Goss explains why.
Australian boxer Jeff Horn said on Tuesday he was in the final stages of preparation for the upcoming World Welterweight title fight in Brisbane against Manny Pacquiao.
I'm right smack bang in the middle of hard training. I've only got another 4 or 5 days left of real hard stuff to go. One more hard sparring session with Cesar Amonsot. I'm looking forward to that being over, to be honest, and just tapering off for the fight. I'm starting to get to that stage where I'm anxious and ready to just get in there and get the job done.
The match is billed by local media to be the highest profile match ever held on Australian soil. The 29-year-old former school teacher was presented with the Wallabies jersey by Australian rugby union player Quade Cooper at Ballymore Stadium in Brisbane and said he was beginning to feel anxious about the upcoming bout due to be held on July 2.
I've got so much respect for him as an athlete, as a boxer, and I'm just looking forward to watching him be able to stand in that ring and hold his head high as a champion.
Filipino boxing icon Pacquiao is an 8th division world champion and the fight will be his first in Australia. James Goss, UNTV News and Rescue, Melbourne, Australia.
Those are the reasons behind the news, June 20, 2017. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Darlene Basingan.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.